Welcome to this week's video. In this week's video, it's time for the Zoe to have a service. So it's that time of year again. It's time to service the car. This would be the third service this car's had, the second that I've done. So I booked it in using the Renault booking website. I always choose this option because it means that the dealer doesn't try and make up a price for the Zoe on the spot, and it also gives you an instant price and options to organise collection. Renault offer free collection on all services, so if you book by the website, it's in the description, and you can book online. It gives you a price, etc., and asks you what extras you want, and you get a set menu price. You can either select a courtesy car, collection, or drop off. I always pick collection because I can't be bothered taking the car there. They pick the car up and drop it off later. Now, the last time I had the car serviced, it had 9,500 miles on, and as of today, I've got 16,830 miles. So I've done a little bit of mileage, but not tremendous amounts of mileage, but I've done a little bit of mileage. So they'll be picking this car up shortly and doing the service, which is the A service, which is £65 from Renault Lookers, and that should be picked up very shortly. Now, there's a few bits on the car that are causing a few issues that I want Renault to look at why it's in and hopefully get fixed. Number one, there's a little bit of roll while driving, so I'm presuming that the anti-roll bushes have gone, so I'll get them to check them and see and find out, although it wasn't noted on the MOT, so it might be something else. The other thing I've noticed recently was there's a little bit of rust underneath the bonnet catch on the far right hand corners. A little bit more shown on the right than it is on the left, but there's a little bit there, so I'd rather get it done under Renault's anti-corrosion warranty while I can spot it. The other thing is the old common Renault badges have started to peel on the front. It was a little bit at the foot last year, but it wasn't as bad, and now it's got really bad. It's really starting to flake off, so I'm going to ask them to replace them. Now, I'm going to ask them to also replace the rear badges at the same time as the front, because if you replace the front badge, the new badge is just plain silver, and then the back badges will be blue. So I kind of want the front and rear badges to match, so I've asked them to replace both of them, front and back, or fit me a new front blue badge, which they won't, so they'll replace all the badges under the warranty. So I've just had a call from Renault Lookers in Stockport to let me know that the roll that I could feel on the car, they reckon it's down to the tyres being an abnormal shape. Now, I know the front tyres are getting quite low on grip, so they've noted the two front tyres and also an offside rear. I've told them not to fit any tyres. I'm going to sort them out myself. I can source much cheaper tyres than what Renault would charge me. Obviously, I'm going to fit the EV tyres, or I might fit some cross-climate tyres which are also compatible. I'll try and put a link to the description down below of the two tyres that are compatible with the size rim that I have on my car, and hopefully that helps a few of you out. The other thing they asked me is, do I want to replace the 12-volt battery, because they said it's a recommended service replacement item. I said no, because what they want to charge, even with a dealer discount on that, is far too much than what I can be able to source it. And I also asked them to test the battery and asked them if it's in working order. And they said, yeah, it's still working, it's just a recommended replacement part. So I've told them to leave it alone. I ain't paying for that. So leaving the battery alone, and probably going to source one myself maybe in another 6 months just before the winter hits, just in case it does start to get to the point where it fails. But at the moment it is in tip-top condition. I'll probably keep an eye on it as well, but more than likely I'll replace it before the winter. You do not have to change it at Renault. You can change it yourself. Don't let them trying to force you to saying that it's a required item. It's not required, it's a recommended item. You should do it after 3 years, because most of the 12-volt battery systems are probably getting close to being knackered. But mine's still going to be perfect working order. We're currently going through a heat wave in the UK, and cold kills 12-volt batteries, not heat, so it should be fine. Well, car's back and it's all fine. All works fine, everything's great. Paid exactly the price on the internet. He rang me up, paid it, and delivered the car. Absolutely fantastic, well done. Better than last time when I asked the BMS to be done. This time, service, I mean, to be fair, the service is basically just a check on a Zoe. There's not much to do. They check the brake pads and all the other bits. Now, while I'm on the brake pads, very notable thing, brake wear on the Renault Zoe, next to nothing, absolutely minimal. I think there's been 10% wear of the original capacity of the brake pads and run 16,500 miles. I don't reckon it is 10%. I reckon they just put 10% because they think that's the easiest number to write. It doesn't really say much. Let's have a quick look. It's just basically got a green tick, and it says, I can't say if it says 100% or 10%, so it's either 100% no wear or 10% wear, which is obviously next to nothing. I actually do try and use the brake pads on this to keep the disc clean, so I occasionally slam it nice and hard every now and again, especially on wet weather, just to give the discs a bit of a clean up. Now, the reason it doesn't use any friction material, same in any other electric car, is because it uses regen. The regen goes back into the car. Hybrids do it as well, but electric cars obviously of course do it. That's how you get the extra mileage every now and again. Now, the Zoe regen works completely different to other cars. I have explained it before, but I'll go into it again. If you let go of the accelerator, you'll get partial regen. The more brake pad you apply, the more regen you will get, and then eventually you engage the friction material. On other electric cars, it doesn't work like that. You let go and you've got full regen straight away. But the Zoe's a bit more clever. I prefer it because in winter driving it means you don't slip as much. Now, another thing I've noticed on the dash of the Zoe, which will help you monitor the regen, is this. If you're like me and you use this screen when you're driving, which I prefer, I think it's one of the best, and the indicator noise is the least annoying. When you're driving and taking power out, it goes green here, and then that's when you're really accelerating hard and you're getting towards purple mode, but you'll get green here. The blue bit will display how much regen you're getting in a visual, nice big screen dash thing that you can get. So the more regen you get, the more blue you get down here. Now, I would demonstrate it, but I haven't got a camera rig to hold it towards my steering wheel, and it's very easy for you to demonstrate when you're driving anyway. It just basically starts lighting up blue all the way down, so all this grey bit goes completely blue. Now, there's another way of displaying the regen, which is just here on the right hand side. If I flick through this screen here, direct consumption. So when you're driving and taking power out, you'll get a plus figure, kilowatts out, and when you're regenning, you'll get a minus blue figure showing power going back into the battery. Both screens are quite useful, but I mean, I prefer to drive with basically any other. Yeah, they have reset the service indicator. I prefer to look at driving with the averages and working out what my miles per kilowatt is and stuff like that, but you can drive with the direct consumption, but if not, you can still use this screen here for the direct consumption as well. Thank you so much to Pete Coventry for subscribing to my Patron account at $30 a month. That is a huge help, and hopefully I'll be able to put it shortly towards new camera equipment and other things, and also maybe helps me do some more shows and stuff like that. If you're not a patron, please consider clicking the Patron link up here. Subscribe to me down here if not already. Click the notification bell and check out my other videos down here. Thanks very much. I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.